This is Buggy, and this is an Emperor of the Sea. That's right, they're the same picture. Buggy has transcended all reasonable expectations of his life, but he's not done yet. After well and truly owning his spot amongst the foremost famous pirates of the modern era, Buggy is set to do the impossible, see the invisible, and become the Pirate King. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam, and Buggy is on the verge of becoming my favorite character in the entire series. That's right, get lost Zoro, take a tea break Katakuri, and do some sort of clever string-based pun that I can't be bothered to think of, Doflamingo. Because the clown is in town, and he has a nose that makes funny noises when you poke it. Honk honk. Buggy is, I would go so far as to say, the biggest joke in the series. And that's very important because so is the One Piece. So who would be more appropriate to set foot on an island called Laugh Tale than a literal clown? I firmly believe that Buggy can become the Pirate King, which is a statement that will probably be met with all sorts of rah-rahs in the comments, you know, how like some of you do. In fact, there's a big faction of dissenters in the fanbase who aren't particularly pleased that he's become an emperor at all. However, when you look back on the series, Buggy's path to prominence has been incredibly well laid down, and not only that, but so has his future. And by the way, this picture of Buggy was drawn by one of our amazing channel artists, and 3 lucky subscribers from this video are going to win a custom artwork requesting whatever they'd like. For example, one user requested a Gear Second Whoop Slap, and that, being the most amazing idea of all time, is exactly what they got. To win, simply be subscribed to the channel and leave a 1-sentence comment with your art request. And yes, you do need to be subscribed because YouTube shows me like a funny little dot next to your name, so there is no fooling me. You'll also receive a high-quality digital copy of your request, as well as have it featured in future videos, becoming part of Grand Line Review history. Also, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, the game that has taken over all of the gaming, with global PvP, PvE, and PvE everything except for PvA, which is literally glue. If you've heard of Raid Shadow Legends, then you know it's got a ton of champions, over 600 of them. But it's also got an insane variety of bosses as well, such as Astranix, the Dark Fae. And don't let that neutral smile fool you, because to you, she is anything but, with the ability to banish your champions as well as create mirror copies of them. And there is an absolute ton happening in Raid this month, including 5 badass new champions, a series of Summer Splash events, and some incredible new skins for Trunda. Plus the special Deliana Chase event, where all new and existing players can get said Deliana. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 28th. Plus the gifts keep coming. New players, once you're in game, just enter promo code MyDeliana to get 50 XP brews to max your legendary hero Deliana all the way up to level 50. There's never been a better time to get started. New players, use my link or scan the QR code right here and get a free starter pack worth almost $30, a free champion Tyrell, and this cool in-game loot. You will find these rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. So good luck, Shadow Raiders. Alright, let's get into it. Here is why Buggy is going to become the Pirate King. Firstly, Mr. Clown-san has a rather appropriate pedigree. Not so much biologically, but very much mustachologically, as he was once the apprentice of the most famous mustache in the world, Goldie Roger. And that there Roger also happened to be the world's first and currently only Pirate King. So it's as bad a good a start to life as any crimson-nosed pirate could have hoped for. But he's not the only prodigy in play here. When Buggy totaled a mere 13 units of age, he was embroiled in a fierce fight battling between the Roger Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates, the world's finest figures coming together to repeatedly punch each other, and that included 3 very prominent children, Shanks, Blackbeard, and of course Buggy, each of whom would go on to become an Emperor of the Sea, thus making this battleground more of a very upper-class My Pirate Academia, where these kids were set for success from day one. However, Buggy seemingly threw all of that away when he refused to join Shanks after the death of Roger, a move which actually went on to work out in his favor, allowing Buggy to become something of a lurking legend, without the heat of the world government constantly and creepily breathing down his slender clown neck. That is until this legend was discovered by a rubber man in Orangetown, which in retrospect is a fairly brilliant implementation of fate. In the same way that child Luffy was mentored by Shanks and adult Luffy was mentored by Rayleigh, Buggy served as a third former Roger pirate to, admittedly kind of involuntarily, support Luffy on his journey. Although in this case it was Luffy who was supporting Buggy's balls on his foot as Luffy kicked them, that is. I also want to point out something interesting about Orangetown, because for an East Blue villain, Buggy was shockingly overpowered. We make fun of these things now, but a single Buggy ball was capable of destroying an entire small town. He was a dangerous dude. I mean, not so much physically, but he did have access to raw, devastating power that few, if any, of his East Blue contemporaries always did. And this Battle of Orangetown will be remembered as far more of an epic struggle than it was in reality. The two future emperors coming into conflict for the first time, and even as rookies threatening to destroy an entire town with their sheer power might. The two would then of course meet again in Logtown, with Buggy solidifying his rivalry with Luffy and following this rubber lad into the Grand Line, where he does nothing in any way remarkable until he does everything remarkable all at once. When it comes to the Paramount War, we as readers have a tendency to think of this as a big story arc for Luffy. But when you take a step back, or I suppose maybe even a step in, and consider this from the perspective of in-world characters, this is actually the story of Buggy. And I don't mean that as a funny joke thing. Buggy is legitimately the big news of this saga. After escaping from Impel Down, the Marines identified the masterminds behind this historical event as Monkey D. Luffy and Buggy. Not Crocodile, not Jinbei, not Ivankov, not Magellan being perpetually stuck on the toilet when he should have been doing prison things. No, the mastermind behind everything was Buggy. And Luffy, but kind of mostly Buggy. Thus immediately placing him as equal to or even above the former warlords in terms of a threat. The Marines also have a bit of a monologue about how they discovered Buggy was a former Roger pirate and a quote blood brother of current Emperor Red-Haired Shanks. And not only that, but Luffy and Buggy also briefly discussed Ray Lee, making it clear that both of them were in Buggy balls deep with the Dark King, which immediately turned the prisoners to his favor, and they actually threatened to mutiny against Luffy. But Buggy, sensing an opportunity, decided to take his new following and claim that he will set sail to Marineford in order to take the head of Whitebeard. Bold strategy. Will it pay off? Oh, very yes. Because from here on out, we are going to experience the Paramount War from the perspective of those watching all around the world. The gates of justice mysteriously open. Later, word would spread that this was due to Buggy because well, he publicly took credit for it, and Buggy then entered the battlefield alongside his various subordinates, Crocodile, Jinbei, and Emporio Ivankov. I mean, everyone of relevance knows that this was Luffy's doing, but from the perspective of the public, Buggy is taking all of that sweet credit. Big moment here though, because Whitebeard then recognized Buggy and said, "It's been a while," after which point he more or less states, "Mate, these Marines, they're a bit much for me. What do you say you and I, me, Whitebeard, and you, the Clown Man, join forces and take them on together as equals?" And then Buggy forms an alliance, an equal partnership with Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world. Within the war itself, Buggy's very first fight was against none other than Dracula Mihawk, and the two battled to a standstill. Mihawk completely unable to damage Buggy, but on the flip side, Buggy was completely unable to overcome the sheer durability of Mihawk. From the perspective of the world, this is kind of like watching Ace and Aokiji clash. The two are so evenly matched that neither can prevail. A rogue camera then pans to Buggy, revealing to the world that he is a secret legend, nay, a lurking legend, who sailed with Roger and is a blood brother of Shanks. After Whitebeard's death, Buggy then fled with tears in his eyes out of sheer respect for his rival, and not fear, definitely not fear, mostly respect. But in the aftermath, he also stepped in not only to save Luffy, but also Jinbei from Marine Admiral Akainu, basically accomplishing the same feat without feet that Shanks did with Kobe. Oh, and speaking of, when Shanks did arrive to stop the war, he addressed 4 people. Fleet Admiral Sengoku of the Marines, now de facto Captain Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates, Captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, whose name is also Blackbeard, and finally, Buggy. To the eyes of the world, these are the 4 major factions: the Marines, the Whitebeard Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, and the lurking legend, Buggy. After seeing Buggy make an alliance with one emperor and be directly addressed by another, there is no doubt in any member of the public's mind brains that Buggy is a profound threat and one of the most legendary pirates to have ever lived. And that perception is exactly what forced the hands of the world government to take their next course of action. Because rather than dealing with snowballing power via sheer following, Buggy was immediately offered the opportunity to become a warlord. And furthermore, it's also implied that he managed to find Captain John's treasure thanks to that handy armband that he received from Luffy in Impel Down. Captain John being a former member of the Rocks Pirates, by the way. So coming out of Marineford, Buggy not only ascended to warlordyhood, but also became known as the man who found the greatest hidden treasure on the planet behind the One Piece. With an injection of both status and capital, Buggy was able to make quite an astute business maneuver, which he did by hiring an army of high-class mercenaries to work with him to generate further income. Now, it's said that the highest earners of Buggy's delivery were the Giants led by Harudin. However, the highest earners does not not necessarily mean the strongest. And according to the most non-canon of all material, a One Piece live-action stage show, by far the most powerful member of Buggy's delivery was a martial artist named Buggy. Now this comes from the One Piece live attraction Phantom Show from Tokyo Tower, which doesn't exist anymore. I mean, Tokyo Tower does, but the One Piece part doesn't. But just stay with me for a bit. Buggy was powerful enough to simultaneously block attacks from both Zoro and Sanji, and Buggy's delivery was expanded in further stage shows with the addition of Mugon and Dandy, who, yeah, look, the One Piece stage shows, they get weird. But interestingly enough, the development of Buggy's delivery put him into a direct business rivalry with Doflamingo, who at the time had a bit of a stranglehold on underworld activities. And after this Flamingo was beaten, this left Buggy to scoop up all of the delicious business. I'd also really love to see a manga that focuses on Buggy versus Doflamingo. I mean, not in terms of fighting and stuff, but like trying to consistently outdo each other on the battlefield of business with all sorts of mind games and corporate betrayal. Kind of like Death Note, just with more clowns, more pink birds, and, well, less death. So I guess we will just call it Note. Now, after briefly spending some time as a cube during the time skip, Buggy's status was rather rudely threatened by the dissolution of the Seven Warlords. However, this is where the Marines would make one of their biggest mistakes in the entire series, and that mistake has put Buggy on an unstoppable path. With only 3 admirals to deal with 4 warlords, Buggy was likely judged to be the least threatening, and as far as we know, the attack on his island was led by Vice Admiral Stainless, who is a man so irrelevant that I haven't even gotten around to commissioning my artist to draw him yet, so here is a quick sketch by me. Now, Buggy responded to this with, and I quote, "This is some grade A bullpucky," and in an event that we can only describe as somehow, Buggy escaped. But not only that, fate would continue to rally behind Buggy as he further consolidated and expanded his power to ultimately fill the mega gap left by Big Mom's unceremonious exit from the Emperor system. And I say Big Mom because she is the one that looks most like a clown. And just like that, Buggy became an emperor because he was the natural choice. Potentially the sole remaining warlord, but also a figure who pre-time skip was publicly recognized as an equal by 2 emperors. And best of all, Buggy's commanders now consist of the globally feared Acrobat Kabaji, Iron Mace Alvida, suspiciously White Substance Galdino, and of course 2, count 'em 2, morbidly obese lions. These characters are going to be remembered in the One Piece world on the same level as the likes of Katakuri, Mako, and King. Oh, and actually speaking of King, Buggy still has 1 step left to go, because he's made it clear that it's now his ambition to become the Pirate King. And to that I say, why not? Not only would it be the ultimate twist of comedy for the jester of this series to inherit the world's most coveted title on a journey through this laugh tale, but it also doesn't have to take anything away from Luffy either. Being the Pirate King isn't actually the thing that Luffy cares about the most. What he cares about is being free and eating like all of the food. In fact, Luffy frequently refuses credit that he is actually due on the basis that he does not want to be thought of as a hero, because heroes have to share their food. How horrible. Luffy, he would rather become a villain, as would I. But the reason why he's striving to become the Pirate King is because he believes that that will make him the most free. But in the end, it's just a title. And when we do get to the gigantic, wild, big, serious series climax of Luffy versus Blackbeard, the battle to determine who will become the next Pirate King, I can actually imagine a situation where the answer is neither, and Buggy swoops in to take advantage of fate once more. Or I think more accurately, fate takes advantage of him. There's also a scenario where Luffy becomes the Pirate King, but Buggy goes on to inherit that title after Luffy's done with it, thus taking yet another round of sloppy seconds as he is already quite familiar with, having done so with both the Warlord and Emperor titles. But as I said earlier, who better than a clown to find Laugh Tale? And who better than you to watch this next video, which is also about One Piece, so I look forward to seeing you there.